Meet Cherokee Bill, the notorious outlaw who wreaked havoc across the Old West and instilled fear in the hearts of the people of the Indian Territory. With a trail of violence and lawlessness, Cherokee Bill's name became synonymous with brutality, and his story is still recorded in Wild West history. In this video, we dive into the legendary life and tragic ending of Cherokee Bill, the deadly outlaw of the Wild West.
Cherokee Bill, also known by the alias Cherokee Bill, was famous as an outlaw in the late 1800s in the Indian Territory, which is present-day Oklahoma. He leads a gang consisting of thieves and murderers. Crawford Goldsby was born on February 8, 1876 in Fort Concho, Texas. His parents are St. George and Ellen Beck Goldsby. His father, from Alabama, was a black man and served as a sergeant in the United States 10th Cavalry, also known as the Buffalo Soldiers. His mother, on the other hand, belongs to the Cherokee freedmen community and is of mixed blood of African, Native American, and Caucasian descent. When Crawford Goldsby was 7 years old, his parents separated, and his mother moved him to Fort Gibson in the Indian Territory. Soon after, he enrolled in the Kansas Indian School, where he studied for 3 years. He was then transferred to the Indian Industrial School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where he remained for 2 years. Despite attempts to provide him with an education, his level of education was poor. According to some sources, he could barely even read and write. Leaving school at the age of 12, he returned to Fort Gibson. It was during this immature stage that Crawford, who has been described as physically mature for his age, encountered his fateful confrontation with his brother-in-law. The incident happened when his brother-in-law forced him to feed pigs. Immediately grabbing a gun, Crawford shoots him dead. However, due to his young age, he was not prosecuted for this act. A year later, Crawford's mother entered into a new marriage, but he found it difficult to establish a harmonious relationship with his new stepfather. During this time, he began to socialize with a troubled mob, drink and rebel, and commit many theft activities. During this time, Cherokee Bill also worked on a small farm where he was popular with many people. However, the following year marked a turning point as he embarked on a path of outlaw life, quickly establishing himself as one of the most dangerous and feared individuals in the Indian Territory. In the spring of 1894, at the age of 18, Cherokee Bill began his criminal activity by shooting a man named Jake Lewis who assaulted his brother. Although Lewis managed to survive his wounds, Bill thought he was dead. Fearing the consequences, he fled to the Creek and Seminole nations, where he formed an alliance with notorious outlaws Jim and Bill Cook. In June 1894, the trio engaged in a gunfight at 14 Mile Creek near Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Lawmen specifically targeted Jim Cook, the wanted man. The gunfight was fierce. Cherokee Bill shot and killed lawman Sequoia Houston, and Jim Cook was also injured. The remaining two were forced to drive Cook to Fort Gibson, but were eventually forced to abandon him. After that, Jim Cook was quickly arrested by the lawmen. Meanwhile, Cherokee Bill rode to his sister's house. Maud Brown, the wife of George Brown, had to endure the cruelty of her husband, a notorious and abusive alcoholic. Brown began assaulting Maud for disobeying his orders. In an act of bravery, Bill stepped forward, confronted the man, and ultimately ended his life. After this incident, Cherokee Bill and Bill Cook formed a gang, mainly consisting of black men of Native American origin. They embarked on a campaign of terror throughout Oklahoma. Starting off on a small scale, the gang's early crimes included consuming whiskey and stealing horses. However, their activities quickly evolved into robbing banks, shops, and carriages. Outlaws are known for their ruthlessness, using guns to eliminate anyone who dares to stand in their way. On July 16th, this gang intentionally committed a robbery involving a man named William Drew. 2 days later, they blocked the Frisco train line at the Red Fork. Despite their efforts, the gang escaped with only a small amount of loot thanks to the timely intervention of a vigilant messenger who cleverly hid the money behind several secret boxes. On July 31, 1894, the notorious gang committed a robbery at a bank in Chandler, Oklahoma, taking $500. Their criminal actions resulted in the death of one person and injury to many others. During the robbery, Elmer Luca, a member of the gang, was shot and later arrested by law enforcement. With the authorities' relentless pursuit, the Cook gang was cornered at an acquaintance's home about 14 miles west of Sapulpa, Oklahoma. On August 2, 1894, a fierce gunfight ensued, injuring one of the lawmen in pursuit. The gunfight resulted in the deaths of 2 gang members, Lon Gordon and Henry Munson, while Ad Berryhill was taken into custody. The remaining members of the gang escaped. During this time, the outlaws continued their criminal activities. On September 21st, they targeted the J.A. Parkinson and Company store in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, raising a substantial sum in excess of $600. Showing audacity, the gang carried out a robbery at the Missouri Pacific Railroad depot in Claremore, Oklahoma, on October 11th. Soon after, the gang quickly proceeded to rob a railway dealer in Choteau. About 9 days later, the Cook gang orchestrated the sinking of the Kansas City and Pacific Express ships, strategically located 5 miles south of Wagner, Oklahoma. They obtained many valuable spoils. During their journey through Oklahoma, Cherokee Bill, along with several other gang members, arrived in Lenape on November 8th. While he was robbing a Shufelt and Son general store, an innocent bystander named Ernest Melton overheard suspicious noises and curiously peered inside to investigate. Tragically, his curiosity cost him his life when Cherokee Bill raised his rifle and fatally shot him in the head. Soon, the U.S. police chief received information regarding the whereabouts of the outlaw. However, Cherokee Bill managed to evade capture when the authorities attempted to arrest him. His last encounter on the road to crime occurred on December 31, 1894. Acting alone, he cheekily robbed the train station in Nowata, Oklahoma. With the help of those who were looking for a share of the $1,500 reward, Cherokee Bill was finally arrested on January 30, 1895. He was quickly taken to Fort Smith, Arkansas, to await a trial on murder charges. On February 26, he appeared before Judge Parker, who convicted him of Melton's murder. Crawford Goldsby, seemingly unconcerned by the gravity of his actions, despite being sentenced to death. Then, the reason behind Cherokee Bill's seemingly nonchalant attitude becomes clear, as details of his daring plan for a daring prison break emerge. Somehow, Goldsby managed to acquire a smuggled firearm supplied to him by a trustee. On July 26, 1895, he tried to get out. A fierce gun battle between Goldsby and the warden resulted in the death of one warden. The gunfight became a stalemate because the guards could not control and disarm Cherokee Bill. Interestingly, sharing a cell with Bill was none other than the notorious outlaw Henry Starr. With their previous acquaintance, Starr secretly offered to disarm Cherokee Bill on the condition that the guards spare his life. The guards agreed to the arrangement, and Henry Starr entered the cell to disarm his friend. He explains to Bill that there is no chance of a successful escape. Cherokee Bill gives up his revolver, which Starr then hands over to the guards. This incident helped Henry Starr finally get free. Meanwhile, Cherokee Bill's lawman pursued an appeal, arguing that Bill was unfairly tried in the court of Judge Isaac Parker. The judge described Bill as a bloodthirsty and mad dog, motivated by brutality, and labeled him the most evil of the outlaws in the Oklahoma Territory. However, despite their efforts, the appeal proved futile. On March 17, 1896, federal officials carried out the execution, hanging Bill in front of a large crowd of hundreds of people. When asked if he had any last words, Bill calmly replied, "I came here to die, not to make a speech." About 12 minutes later, Crawford Cherokee Bill Goldsby was dead. Later, Ellen in Georgia took his remains back to the Fort Gibson area, where he was buried at Cherokee National Cemetery.
Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.